بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونعوذ به تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Most respected viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is the 20th episode of our presentation on the Quran, which is thematic study of the Quran. In the last 3 episodes, we discussed the all-important theme of the concept of creation in the Quran. It would be appreciated that taking 3 episodes to discuss creation must have availed us the opportunity of discussing the concept of creation from different perspectives and in different dimensions, looking at all aspects of the issues around creation. And therefore, the last one that we discussed was the purpose of creation and the purpose of life. We saw how the Quran clearly explained to the world that the universe wasn't created for fun. It wasn't created for, pleasure. It wasn't created for no purpose by God. God created this universe for a purpose. And we saw how that purpose is linked to the purpose of the creation of man. We therefore discuss the purpose of the creation of man. That is to say, within the general, purview of the creation of the universe, we single out man and discuss the creation of man and the purpose of his creation and the purpose of his life. Now, having discussed that, we demonstrated or we explained the relationship between the purpose of the creation of the universe and the purpose of the creation of man, which in actual fact, projects the greatness of man in this cosmos. That man was sent down by Allah as his Khalifa, as his viceroy, as his vicegerent. And the whole of this universe has been rendered to man for his purpose, which means the world was created for the purpose of man, so that man would cultivate life on earth. هُوَ أَنْشَأَكُم مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ وَاسْتَعْمَرَكُم فِيهَا. He created you from the earth, and he charged you to cultivate life, to build life, to construct life, not to destroy, and to establish civilization. And also, all this for the purposes of worshiping Allah alone. Coming this far, we would have realized that man's life has a purpose, and we sufficiently explain the purpose of the creation of man. Another aspect of the explanation of the creation of man is that since man has been created for a purpose, that goes with the issue of responsibility and accountability. Since we've been created for a purpose, then we will be held responsible as to whether we fulfill the purpose of our creation or not. That is to say, we shall be questioned on what kind of life did we live in this world. Did we live the life to fulfill the purpose of our creation, or we live our own lives the way we want to live our own life, not for the purpose of in fulfillment of why we were created. Hence the Quran stated, هو الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. He it is that created death and life to test you, who amongst you is best in conduct, or who amongst you is best in deed. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. He is the invincible, the oft forgiven. Now, further to this, in many verses, Allah has told us that we shall all be responsible for our action in this world. مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ أَسَاءَ فَعَلَيْهَا وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. مَنْ عَمَلَ صَالِحًا. Whoever does good in this life, فَلِنَفْسِهِ, he does good for his own self. وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَمَنْ أَسَاءَ. But whoever does the opposite, whoever does wrong, perpetrates evil and commits sins, فَعَلَيْهَا, he does it against himself, because he is directly violating the purpose for which he was created. And hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, your Lord is not actually wrongful. So this purpose for which we have been created, we shall be raised after death in another life, and we will be held responsible. ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ التَّغَابُنِ. Allah says that is the day of reckoning. That is the day of reckoning, where we will be asked about our questions. Allah says, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ وَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِعِلْمٍ وَمَا كُنَّا غَائِبِينَ. We shall ask those to whom we sent our messengers, and we shall also ask the messengers whom we send to warn them. فَلَنَقُصَّنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ بِعِلْمٍ. We will ask them, we will narrate to them all that they did in this world, بِعِلْمٍ, with knowledge, with full knowledge. In Surah Taha, Allah says, لا يدل ربي ولا ينسى. My Lord does not miss any point, does not go astray, does not get misled. ولا ينسى, neither does he forget anything. That is what we could see in the advice, the counsel that Luqmanul Hakim gave to his son. One of the things he said to him, Ya bunayya, innaha إن تك مثقال حبة من خردل فتكون في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. O my son, whatever you do, even if it were an atom's weight of deed, يأتي فتكون في السماوات, you go into the space and do it, أو في الأرض, or you do it on this earth, أو under the mountains, في السماوات أو في صخرة أو في السماوات أو في الأرض. You go beneath the mountain and commit it, or you go into the space and do it, or you do it on the earth or inside the earth. يأتي بها الله. Allah shall come with it. Allah shall come with it on the day of judgment. Inna Allah latifun khabir. Allah is so meticulous. That is latif. He is so meticulous and so detailed. Khabir, well conversant. Allah is fully acquainted with all that we do. So the fact that we have been created for a purpose, we shall all be raised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be questioned as to whether we fulfill that purpose or not. And Allah, therefore, you can see in Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah begins narrating of how we were created, and it ends up with how we shall be raised on the day of judgment and will be questioned. Allah says in Surah Al-Mu'minun, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ لَمَيِّتُونَ ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تُبْعَثُونَ وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. Lo, we created man from a hardened, clay. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً. Then we made him into a drop of sperm. فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ. In a well-protected, keeping place. In a well-protected treasure. That is the womb of the mother. Like he said in Surah Al-Zumar, خَلَقَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ خَلَقَكُمْ فِي بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ خَلْقًا مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ ثَلَاثٍ. He created you in the wombs of your mothers, خَلْقًا مِنْ بَعْدِ خَلْقٍ, stage after stage, creature after creature, as he narrated in this verse. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُطْفَةً. We made him into a drop of sperm. ثُمَّ خَلَقَنَا النُّطْفَةَ عَلَقَةً. Then we created that drop of sperm, we turned it into a congealed blood, a clot of blood, congealed blood. ثُمَّ خَلَقَنَا الْعَلَقَةَ مُضْغَةً. And then we turn the blood into a morsel flesh. So ثُمَّ خَلَقَنَا الْمُضْغَةَ إِزَامًا. And then we turn this flesh into bones. ثُمَّ وَكَسَوْنَا الْإِزَامَ لَحْمًا. And we clothe the bones with flesh. ثُمَّ أَنْشَأْنَاهُ خَلْقًا آخَرَ. And we created man into a full form of creation. ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ لَمَيِّتُونَ. After all that, you shall all die. You shall all die. ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تُبْعَثُونَ. And you will all be resurrected on the day of judgment. You will all be resurrected and you will be all be questioned. And in Surah Al-Najm, chapter 53 of the Quran, Allah says, وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى ثُمَّ يُجْزَاهُ الْجَزَاءَ الْأَوْفَى وَأَنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. man shall not get anything except that which he did. You shall get only that which you did. وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. And that what you did, you will be shown. You will all be shown your deed. On that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَكُلَّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرَهُ فِي أُنُقِهِ وَنُخْرِجُ لَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ كِتَابًا يَلْقَاهُ مَنْشُورًا اقْرَأْ كِتَابَكَ كَفَى بِنَفْسِكَ الْيَوْمَ عَلَيْكَ حَسِيبًا مَنِ اهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ ضَلَّ فَإِنَّمَا يَضِلُّ عَلَيْهَا. That is what Allah says. Allah says, every person has the record of his deeds hanging on his chest, on his neck. وَنُخْرِجُ لَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ كِتَابًا يَلْقَاهُ مَنْشُورًا. We shall bring it out for him or her on the day of judgment. A book that he will see spread before him. اقرأ كتابك. It will be said to every person, read your book, see the deeds you committed. Like he said in Surah Al-Jasiyah, إِنَّا كُنَّا نَسْتَنْسِقُ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. We've been documenting all that you're doing. Would any person today have any doubt regarding all these things Allah is saying, that we will be documenting all that you say? If you have doubts about that, ask Google today. Allah has given us samples of things that will happen on the day of judgment, even while we are alive. Ask Google of what you've been doing. If you ask Google about the history of your activities, Google shall tell you that you visited this site today, you stood there for so minutes, you visited the soccer site, you visit the photographic sites. Google will tell you. So what is strange when Allah says, Inna kunna nastansikhu ma kuntum ta'malun. We are documenting. Inna nahnu nuhyil mauta wa naktubu ma qaddamu wa atharahum wa kullu shay'in ahsaynahu fi imamin mubin. In Surah Yasin, chapter 36. So everything will be documented. And like he says in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah says in Surah Al-Kahf that everybody will be given his book of record. And then the wrongdoer will say, مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا وَلَا يَظْلِمُ رَبُّكَ أَحَدًا. The wrongdoer will say, what is wrong with this book? La yughadiru saghiratan. It doesn't leave anything, however minute. Wala kabiratan, and however big, it doesn't neglect it. Wa wajadu ma amilu hadira. Allah says, they shall find all that they did presented before them. Inna kunna nastansikhu ma kuntum ta'malun. We've been documenting. ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. Even pronouncements that we do, they are being recorded, they are being documented. Mind you, even the postings you do on social media will fall under ما يلفظ من قول إلا لديه رقيب عتيد. It will fall under ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. Even the postings we do. So when you insult somebody on Facebook, or you insult another person on WhatsApp, or you denigrate a whole community through hate speech and tribalism, you understand? All this will be documented. وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا. Everything that you do shall be, presented before you. Like Allah says in Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ أَتَيْنَا بِهَا وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. We shall set the balance, the scale of justice on the day of judgment. فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. No soul shall be wronged. وَإِن كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ, even if it were an atom's weight of goodness or an atom's weight of sin, even if it were that, we shall bring it forth. أَتَيْنَا بِهَا وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ, we are sufficient as reckoners. So Allah says, وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. All that you do, you will be presented with them. Like I was saying, Allah, continuously Allah is giving us, some examples, some glimpses of things that may take place on the day of judgment, even in this world. So if anybody is in doubt, when Allah says, you will be shown all that you do, all your actions, you will be shown on the day of judgment. It will be visualized to you. Today, we have seen how the video has documented all that you do, even in motion pictures. Not just still pictures, but even in terms of motion pictures. Whatever you do is well documented. And in the same way, you will see it on the day of judgment. وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ ثُمَّ يُجْزَاهُ الْجَزَاءَ الْأَوْفَى, and then you will be paid in full of all that you do. If it is good, you shall be paid in full. If it is wrong, you shall also be paid in full. وَأَنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى, and it is to your Lord is the end of all affairs, the end of everything, the end of everybody. We shall all return unto Him. Going back to the verse in Surah Al-Mu'minun, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Do you think that we created you for no purpose, without a purpose, and that you shall not return unto us? So everybody will be returned. وَأَنَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ الْمُنْتَهَى, and it is to your Lord that the end of everything is. Now, the last point we need to make regarding this discussion about the purpose of creation is that this purpose of creation, and for a person to have a sense of purpose in his living, is what gives meaning to life. Is what gives meaning to life. Life would have no meaning. Life would be meaningless if life is just without purpose. And this is exactly what is happening in the West today. Because many people in the West have abandoned religion. They think life here is just about rocking and rolling and just having fun, and there is no life. So they lose meaning in their life because they don't have a sense of purpose in life. That is why depression is in the increase. Anxiety or mental illnesses, all sorts of mental illnesses. And this is what explains the upsurge in drug addiction. When people don't have a sense of living, they lose meaning in life, and they fall into depression. And then the next thing is to start taking drugs so that they feel on top of the world and they feel kinky and they forget, so, quote unquote, they forget their problems. There was a research report that was published in 1998 by the Times magazine, either in July or in August 1998. 1998. That is how many years ago? About 25 years ago, isn't it? 1998. The title of the research report was Healthy, Wealthy and Unhappy. Healthy, wealthy and unhappy. Many persons that were interviewed in some Western countries by a research organization, they all report, they were all living in affluence. You know how the Western countries are. They are organized. They are not as chaotic as our societies and communities and countries. There is abundance of wealth. Their hospitals are not in shambles. Their taps are not stopping. Their taps are always running. There are no light outs. and all sorts of things. There is food security. There is abundance of food. But many people that were interviewed, they reported being unhappy, in spite of all the affluence surrounding them. So wealth, material affluence does not bring happiness to life. What brings happiness to life is actually when you have a sense of purpose in life and you get meaning in life. So they reported healthy. They were all healthy, wealthy, but then ironically unhappy. Can you see the irony? Healthy, wealthy, and unhappy. And most of them reported to be having suicidal thought. What is it that took them to that level? Was because they reject Allah. They reject God. They don't have a sense of purpose in life. They feel that life doesn't have a purpose. It's just about material and sensual enjoyment. And that is just for the... You are not better than an animal if that is what you think is what we were created for. It is animals. It is animals that actually, don't have a sense of meaning in life. But even the animals, we have been told in the Quran, even animals believe in the existence of Allah because they glorify Allah. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَلِيمًا غَفُورًا. I have to stop here because of time. وَالصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم وسبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.